how I make friends. I have to say, hi, my name's Sally. Who's yours?
You're listening to the Esoteric Podcast, where you don't have to be a Derek fan, but it sure does help.
I have a hard time sitting still, so
I do too.
notice all my guests that have been on podcasts, they stay right by the microphone, and then when I go to do the editing, they sound really good, and I sound like I can't sit still.
Right.
But I think you and I both have ADHD, so
I'm sure.
It's just going to be kind of a roller coaster on the old waveogram.
Well, I mean, we're going to be close to being the same, right?
Yeah,
I mean, we're both like that, so.
yeah. As
it's
long
gonna
as
be evened
we'll
out.
just make an concerted effort to keep our mouths aimed at the black fuzzy thing.
Right. Well, see, I'm used to singing in a mic, but I have it all the way on my mouth when I sing.
Oh, I didn't even think of it. I didn't even put that in my notes.
You didn't?
You're a world class karaoke.
I got my own mic, dude. I mean, so I'm moving on up in the world.
That's pretty amazing. Well, let's tell our guests who you are.
Okay.
You're my good friend, my ray of sunshine, Rhyan Simmons.
That's right. How y'all doing, everybody? Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, welcome to the Esoteric Podcast. It's a podcast about me and my friends.
So where did you come up with the name?
Do you know what esoteric means?
No.
It means it's a subject for a very specific small audience, obscure audience.
Really? That's genius.
So esoteric, but then I just put a T in there for Derek. That's my name.
Oh, is it, Derek?
Yeah.
Well, nice to meet you, Derek.
Not spelled the same, but yeah. So it's just kind of a podcast I make for my friends, and what I'm kind of hoping is that your friends will listen, and then maybe they'll think I'm interesting, and they'll keep listening. And I know you got a lot of friends.
Oh, I've got just like 2 or 3 maybe, but mostly they just like to make fun of me. That's the only reason why they're going to listen to this.
Well,
So
I'm glad
I'm okay with it.
Glad you filled in last minute. I'm trying to do 1 episode a month. Maybe I'll eventually do 2, but I want to release on the 1st every month. So
Well, this might be your last one with me on it, so I hope not.
So just off air, you were telling me that you tried starting your own podcast.
Well, yes, it was for my Bigfoot stuff. So me and Bucky. You met Bucky?
No.
You never met Bucky? Big Bucky Grip?
Was he on that? Remember that really weird movie that we were all on? He's kind of a big guy. He's blonde. Julie Burke. We were at
Yes.
a junkyard.
Yes.
That's the only. I was
The
wondering
garage.
who he was because I remember that once in a while, and
Yes.
I was still pretty new to the industry at the time, so I thought it's like, oh, here's a cool new guy. I'll see you around more
Yeah.
often.
Yeah, that's Bucky. I mean, he used to help us a lot, mostly down at Humanot, but now he's in Atlanta doing stuff, so.
Is he a grip?
He was doing, I think he was actually building sets last I talked, but I hadn't talked to him in a couple months probably, so.
Well, that's cool. So was he part of your podcast?
We were going to do it together, yes. And then I didn't like.
Well,
Oh, Bucky, I love you to death if you listen to this. But, it's just. Our conversation, I didn't really think it went over. I mean, it just didn't jive to me. You know what I mean? There was a lot of nonsense in there, I felt like. And so, not only that, but just listening to myself talk, I don't like that. It freaks me out.
takes some time. So this is my 4th or 5th episode, and I'm still every time as I'm editing, I'm taking mental notes, and I'm trying to improve. I want every episode to get better.
Right.
Every podcast probably wants that.
Right.
So I try to be aware of the annoying things that I do. I don't know if other people find it annoying, but I have so many other things that the sound of my voice is the least of my problems.
Come on, Derek. I don't believe that.
But yeah, man, there's so many good things we can talk about, and I've got a little list, but you mentioned Bigfoot. Bigfoot, the monster truck?
No, Sasquatch, the hairy man, the
Have you ever-
Bigfoot.
You try to podcast about that. What about just a Bigfoot monster truck podcast? You could try that.
You know, I could. I don't know. I feel like that I've grown out of the Bigfoot, like the monster truck stuff. I feel like. I mean, it'd be cool if I had one or got to ride in one, but like going and watching them, I just, you know, it's the same thing. It's just jumping some cars, which is great. I mean, once they start doing the, you know, double backflips, stuff like that, like they're doing in motocross and bicycles and stuff, they're just progressing. Then yeah, it's gonna be. I'll go watch it, but it's just the same, you know. Usually.
I want to talk to you about Sasquatch.
Okay.
But I want to hold off on that, and I want to get to know you a little better because I am really interested in knowing more about Sasquatch.
Okay. All right.
But
I'm ready whenever you are.
Let's so tell me what you do for a living and what you do for fun.
Well, I work at a rental house here in town, grip and lighting house.
What's that?
For film, in the film industry. Video production, I guess, is what it's called now. It's not really film anymore, so it's video.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I met you, Derek.
That's true.
Yeah, man. It was just a happy marriage when we met. But no, yeah, so I do that, and then, of course, I work shoots whenever those happen. It's been kind of slim recently, but hey, it's going to get better. Other than that, I just, for fun, I love racing. I love, you know, Sasquatch stuff, going out in the woods, looking for Sasquatch and just, you know, kind of getting, I just want to go out and try to just be, you know, just talk to them, you know what I mean? And just make them feel comfortable around us. I feel like that's what we need to do, you know, because, I mean, obviously they're out there. I know we're going to talk about this later, but, you know, I'm just trying to do my part, right? Because you know me, I love to talk to people and I like to just, you know, cut it up. So anyway, we'll talk about that later.
What kind of racing are you into?
I mean, I'm big into NASCAR. I'm big into, I mean, just about any kind of racing.
Watching or doing?
Both.
Because I recall now that you were or are really into go-karting.
Yes,
Go-kart
electric
racing?
karting, yes.
Where is the place to go? Because I know you're probably not a fan of Sorgoonies, which I end up at quite a bit.
No, it's all about the electric karts these days because, you know, they got that instant power and they run about 50 mile an hour and it's indoor track. So it's, you know, it's booking it pretty much in there in that little small track. But I like to go to Autobahn, which is in Bessemer, Alabama, which is outside of Birmingham. But we don't have any here around Chattanooga, electric cars. So I do have some passes to go and do the Atlanta Motorsports Park, which is, they have go-karts there, but they're, you know, I'm going to say they run about 60 or something, I don't know. So they're not like Sargoonies, you know. It's like 20, 25, but.
Is it possible to roll them? Can you roll?
Yeah, I mean, you could, yeah. I mean, mostly you're just going to spin out because of the low center of gravity on them, you know. But there's, I mean, yeah, you definitely could.
You can definitely get whiplash. Do
Oh,
you
yeah.
wear helmets and stuff? I've never actually seen like a high-end adult go-karting.
Yeah, you wear a headstock and a helmet, and that's electric cars. So I mean, this is outdoor track, and you have to wear helmets, and I don't think you have to wear a suit, but if you've got any faster than that, you probably have to. But yeah, I mean, you got to be. I mean, those things are booking it. You don't want to get hit, you know.
Yeah.
And not have a helmet on. That's for sure.
You're my first film friend that I've interviewed.
Oh, really?
How did you get into film? Did you always want to be a grip?
No, I wanted to be an actor, actually. So, of course, that didn't happen. You know, I got into high school and chased women and partied a lot. So, I mean, before you know it, I've got kids. Oh, yeah. Yeah. You know, I didn't do the... I should have went about it differently, obviously, you know, now that I look back on it, but I didn't. So, but what ended up happening is, you know, things changed in high school, and then I got into selling truck parts because I've been around trucks my whole life. My dad had a trucking company here in town, so I've just been around them my whole life. So I sold truck parts for like 15 years. And then I heard a advertisement on the radio for the movie Leatherheads, right? George Clooney. Well, they were going to be shooting here for one day at the Tennessee Valley Railroad Museum. So they were looking for extras. So I'm like, well, this would be awesome. So, you know, I sent them a headshot and blah, blah, blah. And they called me, and, of course, they wanted me to shave my beard and mustache, which I was like, I don't know about this. This is going to be scary.
Beard and mustache.
I mean,
That's awful.
it was crazy. So, so I look like I'm, you know, this was in 2007-ish. So it's been a good while.
Mm-hmm.
So I probably look like I was in my, like, 20, you know, with my beard shaved off, you know.
I've never seen you without a beard.
Oh, it's not pretty. But anyway, so they made me do that. And so I did. And then I worked that whole day, which was a long day. I mean, we started early, and we didn't leave until, like, I don't know, 11 o'clock that night. I mean, it was a long day.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I just seen what was going on, you know. It was like, this is really, you know, crazy. Like, you just don't realize, and you know this obviously, but just how much work is involved in just a 30-second commercial or whatever it is.
It's a lot of moving pieces, isn't it?
Yes, I mean, it's unbelievable the manpower that it takes and the equipment and all that stuff. And so I'm like, this is awesome, you know, because I mean, you I don't know, you just feel like you're accomplishing something. You know what I mean? Like, you have something to look at the end and say, I worked my tail off, and this is what, you know, come from it. You know, it's very rewarding for me. Not only that, but it's stressful. So if it's not stressful, it's not going to be rewarding at all, and it can be very stressful. You know that. You know.
Yeah.
So anyway, I did that, and then after that, I got to check in to see, you know, just take some classes. And Chattanooga State had a PA class, so I went and done that. And then before you know it, after that, I went and done the assistant camera class, and just, you know, did internships with Dave, which was my teacher. I don't know if you know Dave Porfiry or not. I think he was the actual film or video professor at Macaulay. But anyway, so yeah, I interned with him, and he did a lot of stuff around town. So I just kind of got to knowing people and just doing stuff, and then I hooked up with Michael, which owns Department Blue, and you know, I was like, I just wanted to try and get in with him and just start working at the rental house and learn, you know, the gear and all that stuff and be around it, and that's what happened. Before you know it, I was going to class at Chattanooga State for this PA and assistant camera, and then I was working at Freightliner at the time, and then Michael called me. Well, actually, Elise, another girl that was the location scout here in town, she called me up and wanted to know if I would actually just literally be a driver for one of the talents on a TV pilot that they're going to shoot here in Chattanooga.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, well, that sounds awesome. I mean, how hard can that be? I love to drive. And it was, you know, one of the females that was somewhat attractive. You know, it wasn't going to be a bad gig. So anyway, and it wasn't probably 3 hours later, Michael calls and wants to know if I would be interested in actually being the lighting board operator for it. I'm like, I've never done that, you know. I don't know about that. Oh, you'll be fine. I'll show you. You'll be fine. It's easy. I'm like, oh, okay. And so I got on this TV pilot, you know, and I ended up having to, you know, quit my job cold turkey, you know, for that, because it was starting the next week. And I'm like, either I'm going to pursue this or not. You know what I'm saying? It's like, which one's more important? I mean, what do I want to do? Do I want to sell truck parts for the rest of my life? No. So, you know, I just had to sacrifice. And it was tough because I was 35 years old, you know, 3 kids, don't have any income really. Mm-hmm. So luckily I've just had some people that I knew and got to do some odd jobs and stuff, you know, just to help me through it. And then I finally got through it. And then, you know, here I am sitting in front of you.
It's kind of amazing how you can fall into some stuff sometimes like that. Like, so much of maybe life, but the film industry is just being in the right place at the right time and being available and having a good attitude. I mean, that's how I fell into the film industry, I think, is, you know, I didn't see that as I didn't know it was an option.
Right.
And then, you know, Leif and Lucky, they saw something in me. You know, a lot of people say no one goes to school to be a producer. Someone just sees that in you, and you know, it sounds like you kind of came up the same way.
Right, and I think film is mostly like that. It's more of a hands-on You know, you can go in class or whatever and you can learn some terminology or whatever, but you literally have to be in the field to actually learn anything, you know. So, and that's it. I mean, it's all about luck, you know, and just being in the right place at the right time. You're right.
Yeah, I think you and I are a lot alike in some. I mean, being ADHD, neither one of us can sit still.
Right? I'm doing circles right now, yeah.
You're the only person I know that can out-eat me in ice cream.
Maybe. And cereal, possibly.
Oh, I do love cereal. What's your favorite cereal?
Well, I do like peanut butter crunch.
Oh, that's my jam.
Is that your jam
Yeah,
too?
we were just looking for it at Walmart. They have the big bags. They're name brand, but it's a bigger bag.
I didn't know they had the name brand big bags of that.
They do. I mean, I don't even care if it's name brand really, but
well,
like Captain Crunch, but the peanut butter version.
Right. Yeah, that's
we were just looking for that.
Yeah, so I like that. I mean, I like the Crunch Berries. It's pretty good. I like what is it, Cocoa Pebbles or whatever. It's not bad.
Mm-hmm.
Puffs. I'm okay with Puffs. Lucky Charms. I mean, I'm not that picky. You know, I just do like the peanut butter.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Well, going back to, I want to ask one question about Leatherheads.
Mm-hmm.
If I watch that and look real carefully, will I see you?
No. Because we stayed in the train the whole time. The whole time.
Still seems like a pretty cool experience.
I mean, it was.
I mean, it got you, I guess, interested and realized that, you know, could be a career. Do you ever have a hard time explaining to family what you do and why it's important?
Yes, that is the hardest thing to do. What's so crazy is, like, I was on Facebook and this guy posted something about a grip and what they do, you know, and it was like a video. And I'm like, I watched it, I'm like, this is exactly like, you know, I can't explain this to people, you know, it's impossible. Like, they don't have a clue what it's all about or how hard it can be, or, you know, there's a lot of, you know, back-breaking work. So I watched the video, so I sent it to a few people and said, okay, I know I've not been able to explain what I do for a living really well, but watch this video and this will tell you exactly what I do.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if it wasn't for that video, I mean, that helped out a lot. But, yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, I try, like, my grandma has some idea that I make things, and she thinks they're all really good, but she told me one day, like, she has no idea what I actually do. Like, I talk to my grandma at least 3 times a month.
Yeah.
And so we talk about all the stuff that I'm doing. And she's like, I don't even know how to tell people what you do.
I mean, I can tell you what to do. You're involved in every aspect of a video shoot, film shoot, whatever you want to call it. Mm-hmm. And that takes a special person. I mean, that's not easy because you have to be involved in everything.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nonstop. Like, there's no way I could handle all that. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'd love to maybe do that, you know, at some point. But, like, I'm just not one of those that, you know, that can take that on and then delegate. No, I'm just not that kind of guy, you know. I'd just rather just do some manual labor. Tell me what to do, something simple. You know, carry that stand with that light over. Okay, that's it. I can do that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, when I'm on set, it's, you know, a lot of times it looks like I'm just standing around, but usually I'm just watching and making sure that everything that I planned is going how I planned it. Yes. And if it's not, I find out why it's not doing that.
And watching the clock.
Yeah.
A lot of that.
Yeah. Most of what I do is before and after, but most of what you do, I guess you do the thing that I would hate doing, and that is cleaning up all the equipment, getting it back on the shelves where they go, wrapping cords.
Yes.
That is stuff I do not. I'm sure you don't love it either, but I don't envy you at all.
I really don't, but it's gotten to where I've gotten used to it, and that kind of helps because I just try to get into the zone and just know, you know, I know what I need to do. I need, you know, because, you know, I'm really the only. Well, Glenn helps out obviously with Department Blue and stuff, but I pretty much load the trucks by myself. I get all the gear. You know, when the shoot comes up, I get all that together, load it on a truck. Usually drive the truck down there, but and then, you know, it's my job to get it back where it needs to go and on the truck, make sure it gets on the truck. And when I get back to the shop, I've got to worry about putting it up and checking through it, making sure everything's good to go. So it can be a lot, you know, just, you know, before and after shoot, you know.
Yeah.
And then you have the shoot, so it's like, you know, it could be a tough thing, and you know that.
So your main job is grip?
Yeah, mostly grip. Yeah.
And what do you do when you're on set?
We shape the light. Grips do. We're the key riggers, and we shape the light, basically. And we work closely with camera department.
And so your head of department is the gaffer, right?
But yeah, the gaffer would be on the electric side. So electric and grip pretty much are together in a sense, you know. I mean, they are differentiated.
On a traditional like Hollywood set, they'd be separate departments.
I mean, they're two different departments. Yeah, I mean, if it was a union shoot, obviously, yeah, this totally. I mean, like if you're, which I've been on some union shoots, it's very confusing. So you have the electric and the grip. So the grip, basically, we deal with flags and nets and frames, and we diffuse light and we shape light. And we do all that. The electric is in charge of the lamps, like the lights, the electrical that powers the lights.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, you know, we just work hand in hand to make it look as good as possible on camera. So the gaffer is in charge of the electric, and then the key grip is in charge of the grip.
Okay.
Those two together meet up with the DP, director of photographer,
Mm-hmm.
and work as a team to get the look that he wants, basically.
Yeah, the look, the mood,
Right.
the time of day sometimes.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. I always thought that I'd be a really good grip, but
Could be.
as I get more into it, it's more, I kind of just really enjoy what I do. But because I have a degree in photography, and, you know, what we do is shape light,
Yeah.
like you said. It's, you know, film or photo, same thing. It's all about light.
Mm-hmm.
It's just making the light, it's just a reflection of light.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And I'm not that great at it, but I mean, I entertain. That's mostly why I get hired, is because I'm just very entertaining for people. So,
I mean,
you know.
that is part of the reason why I love having you on set, and I love having you on my podcast right now, because, like I said earlier, you're my ray of sunshine. We work with a bunch of introverts and just entitled a-holes sometimes.
It's
But
ridiculous.
you are not any of those. You're extrovert,
Yeah.
kind of hyper. You think
Kinda,
you're
yeah.
hyper? I'd say
I feel like that I'm a little hyper. Yeah.
but I like it. It's a change of pace, and I mean, I'm basically an introvert, and everyone I work with is basically introverts. So it's nice to have that one person that's a little bit entertaining.
Yes.
And does being so extroverted on set ever get you in trouble? Because I feel like
Oh yeah.
a set, you have to be quiet and invisible, and a grip, I suppose, should always be invisible.
Yes.
Unless
we hide in the shadows.
they need you. Yeah.
That's the truth. We hide in the shadows a lot. But yeah, I mean, of course, I've always gotten in trouble, you know, because I'm usually a lot of times I get going and then I don't even realize what's going on around me, you know,
Yeah.
and I'll just start being, you know, and it's like I get out of control. Then, you know, somebody has to just tone me down a little bit, and once that happens, I'm okay, you know, I'll stay cool, but
Yeah.
sometimes I get out of control. Yeah.
Well, I always appreciate that you're the only person who always thanks me for the snacks.
Hey,
And
those
I
are very
know-
important.
I know you love Ferrero Rocher. You told me that on
Oh,
a call
yes.
once. I used to do like post film calls and just like debriefs basically with everyone on set. And I need to start doing it again, where I just say
Right.
like, hey, what snacks can I have on set? What snacks did you hate?
You're-
What can we do better? And I remember
You're the only person that does that too.
the first time I ever did it, I didn't really know you.
Yeah.
And you gave me the longest list of snacks. And I was just
Was this in Atlanta when we were at the studio space?
It might have been, but I just remember doing the post call, and you're like, "Yeah, I love Ferrero Rocher, and I love peanut butter M&Ms."
Oh, those are the bomb diggity.
And I have a really bad memory, but I can remember, you know, I can't remember your whole list, but I remember everyone's. You don't like spicy food,
No. I like gummies. Remember gummies?
gummies. I don't know
Yeah,
if
this-
I remembered that, but I can make sure you have them.
Yeah, what is that, Forest something gummies? You know, it's got the juice inside, the Juicy
Oh,
Burst.
yeah.
Those are the bomb diggity.
Those like
Yeah.
Gushers, or
I
something
mean, it's
different.
similar, but it's just gummies, just with a little bit of juice inside, you know.
Mhm.
It's not exploding like Gushers. It doesn't gush, you know. but it's full of flavor. You know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
what's important.
Well, what's some of the most interesting filming that you've done in recent years, or ever?
Well, I'm going to say the one of the coolest things that I've been able to do in this business was go and be on an aircraft carrier, and you were there with me, and it was the coolest experience I've ever had. I mean, I enjoyed every minute of it. You know, you think being on an aircraft carrier, like, you know, being lost all the time and like no contact with anybody, like how can that be so much fun? But I enjoyed it so much. I mean, it was just something different, you know, and I don't know. I had a great time. Of course, I was with great people. That makes a big difference too. So
That was also probably the coolest film experience I've ever been on. And you spent quite a bit of time on the bridge, didn't you?
No, I only went up there. Well, you know, I did spend some time up in Pry-Fly and all that. Is that what you're talking about?
I don't
With
know.
the
I mean,
with the controllers and stuff.
I never not got lost. We were on the Theodore Roosevelt for how many days? Do you remember how many days it was? 7?
We were on a 7, yeah.
And I think the very last day I could make it to the mess hall and the bathrooms by myself.
Yeah, well, that got very tough. The bathroom situation got tough for us, didn't it? That's the
Yeah.
very beginning almost.
Oh, the bathrooms were all down, weren't they?
Yeah,
So we had
and-
to go somewhere.
Exactly. We didn't know. We were just lost. It's like, where's the nearest one? I mean, like, there wasn't. I mean, the nearest one wasn't even that close.
Who was your roommate on the Roosevelt?
I had Leif as a roommate.
Oh, you had Leif. I had Chris.
Yeah.
And but then afterwards, you and I were roommates for.
Well, before
Was it before?
in the hotel. Remember we stayed? Didn't we stay in the hotel together? That one.
I know we were.
Yeah, we was in. Yeah, one night I stayed. Well, when I flew in because y'all flew in before me and Leif, right? I think so. Yeah, I think so.
It's
Because
possible. Usually, I feel like me, Chris, and Dylan all got the equipment out there, and then
Yes.
other people would follow up, and we'd have 25 suitcases or pieces of luggage
yeah.
at all times.
And Chris's dad was our chauffeur.
Oh, yeah, that
which was
was-
great. I had no idea that was his dad until like when was it? Maybe the next day. I don't even know. It was crazy, but excuse me. I enjoyed. Yeah, it was great. I think me and Leif flew out there. Y'all were there already. So yeah, I stayed with you. Remember, because you had my hat, the Pathfinder hat, and a shirt. What was it? A shirt
Probably.
on the bed in there in the room that we shared that night, which was awesome. I mean, it's y'all are always taking care of me, and I love that.
Well, we love having you on set. Do you have any like specific memories from being on the Roosevelt that you were your favorite?
Oh yeah. I mean, it was getting to mess with some of the mass communications, the MCs, I guess, right?
Mhm.
Getting to kind of pick at them a little, you know, because they're still in their, like, I don't know, early 20s or late teens. I don't know, something like that. You know, there's Porn Stash. I gave him that nickname. Don't you think he had the Porn Stash?
Yeah, I think he knew that.
Yeah.
And I think that's what he was going for.
Yeah, I think he enjoyed the name. I mean, why not?
It's a good name.
And then what was the other one? I can't think of his name. But yeah, I enjoyed hanging out with all of them. It was great. I enjoyed being able to just walk around and like feel like that we could just walk around. You know, we didn't feel like we was, you know, we had somebody on us and we couldn't do anything. You know, like just confined or nothing. It was like we could kind of walk around and do stuff and check it out. You know, we got to explore. It was. I mean, you just don't understand what it's like for an 18-year-old, you know, boy or girl
Mm-hmm.
to join the Navy, get on an aircraft carrier with like 6,000 people, right?
Yeah.
Don't know not a single one of them, you know, and be away from home, no communication, nothing, for, you know, 6-month cruises. It's like, I mean, total respect for those that do that, you know. And I have a buddy that was he's a Master Chief and he just retired, and I told him, I was like, man, I didn't realize how tough it was, but I mean, I've got a lot of respect for you, you know, for doing this, because it's not easy.
Yeah, it was amazing to me how big that thing was. They're just the jet bay. I feel like you could easily fit more than 12 of my houses in that thing. You could stack them too high, and
Yeah.
how many? Do you remember how many
planes?
How many planes and jets they could fit in there? Was it like?
Me and my buddy Matt was just talking about this recently. I want to say that you can put like 30-something planes in there, something like that. I mean, it's just crazy, you know. Yes. I mean, I don't know how many to put on up top, but there was we had a bunch. There was a bunch in there that one day in that the hangar bay,
mm-hmm.
you know, getting worked on and stuff. It's like, good gosh, it's crazy, you know.
Yeah.
All these planes everywhere. It's like, yeah, it was fun. I enjoyed it. Got to see a bunch of cool stuff. Yeah.
One of my favorite things was, so we got on in San Diego.
Right.
We just walked on with our stuff.
Yep.
And then it was the Operation Northern Lights.
Something like
Northern
that.
something.
Yeah.
I guess they dropped us off. We got boomeranged off.
Yeah, we were
cod.
Yes, we were literally seatmates in that. That was so cool.
Yeah, I'll post a photo.
I got a picture. Yeah, you got the picture.
I've got it on Instagram. Yeah, I'll post it together and describe the cod for the audience.
A cod. Let's see. It's kind of like a
COD, basically like a fish.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's what it's called. It doesn't really look like a cod, though, fish, I don't think. But anyway, but it's like a what is the big plane? Cargo plane. Anyway, it's like a cargo plane. It's got the little hatch in the back that just pops down. It's almost like a skydiving plane in a sense,
mm-hmm.
right? And it was propellered. Had propellers on it or whatever, and so we were facing backwards. Is that right? I want to say that we were.
I think so.
So the seats are turned around backwards, so we're actually facing the actual tail where the hatch is.
Well, that would make sense because when they jump, then they would just walk straight back and jump.
Yeah. So that way, when they do, because you know with the catapult, which is steam, it's done with steam. I guess that helps with maybe. Your neck whiplash. I don't know, but I didn't really understand that. I didn't feel like it was that big of a slingshot. Did you?
No. The other guys were saying that it was one of the more mild. They said sometimes it's literally like a boomerang. It's a huge metal cable, and it just shoots you off the end of the runway, which is on the carrier. And they said sometimes you'd get to the end and it would shoot you and then you drop.
Which we did
and
drop
then
a little,
pick up.
But it wasn't that bad, yeah.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun sitting next to you because you're just like, yeehaw!
It was awesome. And it's like, I don't know. I was really fired up, getting ready for that. I'm like, this is going to be awesome, this is going to be like, I thought the thrust was going to be amazing, and then it happened. It was like, that really wasn't that much thrust, and it was. Yeah. I mean, I think the part that really got me the most was actually when we came off the carrier and dropped a little bit, and then popped back up, because you can just feel like you're like just for that couple of seconds you're like, oh no, are we going down to the water, So that was the craziest part for me, but.
Yeah, I expected to get that like feeling in my stomach like I'm on a roller coaster or something.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get that.
I didn't really get that either. I just knew that we went down, and I just know let's not keep going down. Let's go back. Let's go up.
Yeah, that was my first time ever being catapulted. I've never landed on one. The rest of the team they've flown on and flown off.
Oh, really?
But that was my only opportunity to do it, and then they flew us to Air Force Base in Anchorage.
Yes, that's exactly right. Yep, we caught it off to there.
It was beautiful up there, and then we all me, Leif, and Colby all drove up to Denali National Park.
That's right.
That was pretty neat. It felt like such a long drive.
Dude, it was. It was like never ending, man. It was like, it was beautiful, obviously, the scenery, but it's like, wow, how much further do we have,
Yeah.
But it was a good experience, yeah.
Seeing all the moose was cool because they were just everywhere in people's backyards and
Yeah, at an apartment complex. We're like downtown Anchorage, man, and there's like you look over to the right at this red light, and there's one munching on some shrubs at an apartment complex. It's like this is just the craziest thing ever.
Yeah, and then I feel like when we got to Denali, I don't know if the trip was too long or what. I feel like it was a little boring.
It was. We were bummed out because it was kind of closed for the season. Like they wasn't even opening it up until like a couple of weeks. It seemed like it was close by, but like we still, it was going to be weeks away anyway before they kind of opened it up. So it's like we didn't really get to see much, or like we only got to drive to that one spot. That's as far as we could go.
I didn't really. I don't know if I don't remember there being more to see. I'm sure there was because I'm sure it's huge. But we kind of did a loop and we saw elk and moose and there's a little bit of snow. I don't think there was a lot of snow when we were there.
Yeah, because we walked down to the stream, the creek or whatever. I don't know what they call it in Alaska, but like a brook or whatever. And there was a little bit of snow down there, I think. I want to say there was.
Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah.
Yes.
I do have some photos of me down at the bottom standing out there.
Yeah.
Anchorage was pretty cool. I remember walking around and I feel like is marijuana legal up there?
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like there were a few of our crew members who overly indulged. And I just remember seeing them walking on the sidewalk, kind of zombie.
Dude, I'm going to tell you, we might have went too far with that. And then we had an ordeal with the Uber driver, which was weird. It was the weirdest thing. And then Colby kept messing with him. He was like in the front seat and just messing with this guy because he was talking about that the mountain, how it looks like some ladies laying down. When you look at the mountaintops,
I don't know about that. No.
I can't think of what they call it, but he was telling us a story about that. And then he just kept on like he just seemed like he was just going a little too extreme. And so anyway, he just got really weird on us, and we're like, we got to get out of here. So we literally had to stop. We stopped and got out, and then got another Uber driver to come pick us up and take us back to our hotel. So that was an experience for sure. So. But yeah, it was like we just was eating dinner, all of us, and we're like, we just leave and go to the dispensary, and then before you know it, I'm like, wait a second, we didn't even tell anybody where we went. It's like, oh my gosh, we should probably tell them where we're at,
Yeah, I don't remember why we spent so much time in Anchorage, but I do remember walking around. There was kind of like, I wouldn't call it a farmer's market, but there was like old time photos, but I think it was more. I don't think you're supposed to say Eskimo. Inuit, and then you could take pictures with like husky dogs.
I don't remember. Was I with y'all on that?
I don't know.
I don't remember that exactly.
I don't remember. I was with only one. Maybe it was with Leif. I think I was with Leif, and we kind of walked around. I was going to do it just for fun by myself.
Yeah.
But
then you see all the homeless people, and you're like, I don't know if this is a good idea.
There were so many homeless people there.
Yeah, unbelievable.
And it's like, man, you guys need to walk south. This is the wrong place to be homeless.
Exactly. Do you have your north and south like mixed up? What's going on here? And that was the very first. I mean, when we first got into Anchorage, that was the first thing that I saw, basically. And I was like, just puzzled. Like, I can't believe there's this many homeless people here. Like, I would never be homeless here. It's insane.
Yeah.
I mean, it's sad, but. Anyway, it was a great trip. I loved it.
Yeah,
got to do some karaoke, obviously. Yeah, host a TV show on there.
I forgot about that.
I wouldn't say host, but
Yeah, we had our fancy neon rainbow lights, and we kind of lit it up for was it the Fun Boss? They're the Fun Boss, and then
yes.
Fit Boss. I don't know, they're separate.
Right. But it was the Fun Boss. Yeah, she was.
There's a lot of jobs in the Navy that end in boss.
Yes.
Like Gun Boss sounds awesome.
Mini Boss.
Mini Boss.
I think I called him Baby Boss. I don't think he liked that either. Improv fly.
Oh, something crazy about the Roosevelt. The first day I was there, they would always put me in charge of time lapses.
Yeah.
So I get this time lapse. It's this long not a pole. It's like rectangular with 2 tiny legs on it. And I strap it to the edge of I was 2 or 3 flights up on, it's not a P-way. It's not a porch. I don't know how to describe it.
You're talking about in the island?
No, it was outside, looking down on the flight deck. And so I make sure it's really attached. I put a couple of safety things on. And it always took me 40 minutes to set this thing up, and I rarely used it. So I get this thing set up. I'm just about to start shooting a time lapse, and some guy comes and starts yelling at me. He's saying I attached something to his boat.
What?
And I said, okay, no problem. I said, like, I shook it. I said, it can't come off. And so I don't know. Long story short, it was the captain.
Ooh, I never got to meet the captain. The captain who came and I say yelled at me. He was really unhappy. Didn't know who I was, right.
And he said I was being unsafe. Maybe I was.
Right.
Semi-heavy equipment over the flight deck is probably not a great idea. But it's the guy. Did you hear the story about when COVID was pretty new? The Roosevelt
was infected.
Had the outbreak.
Yes.
And the captain turned them around and said, if we were in time of war, we'd be out there, but we're not in time of war. I'm not going to put my sailors at risk for practice or, whatever. It was that guy that got fired.
And I feel so bad for that guy because he really was doing the right thing. And then they literally just, took him down like 3 notches, man. It's like, that was ridiculous. I thought, like he was doing the right thing. And they didn't like that, because that was like they went to Guam or something and docked there, and then they all got like hotel rooms or something and got off the ship. They didn't like that. Obviously, the Navy didn't like that, or the president or whoever was in charge, higher than him, and then literally jumped all over him and on TV basically just chewed him out and he did. I felt like was the right thing to do, and I felt so bad for that guy.
Yeah, I saw him on the news, and I was like, why do I recognize that guy? That guy yelled at me. Yeah.
So you must have been on the island then, which is the thing that goes up.
I didn't know what it was called, but yeah, that could be. I remember. So we were set up in mass communications. That's where we spent a lot of our time, and they do a lot of similar, low end photography, and they have a print shop and whatever. Right. I remember one of the last days they kicked us out because, I don't know if court-martial was the right word, but all the guys that were getting busted, if they'd snuck on, I don't know, CBD or weed or beer or whatever, they'd have to meet. And man, the tension was like walking, you have to squeeze by the P-way, and all these guys, these sailors, are dressed in their formal white uniforms, like the classics. Right. And they have to dress like that in order to basically get chewed out. Yeah, and
starched and all.
They had to, they make them come extra early, or they come extra early to, if they're late, then they're in really big trouble. Yes. So they're standing there, and then, they're telling us, hey, you guys got to get out. We're about to do this thing, the captain. And it's like, somber is not the right word, but it was just like awkward, and like everyone could feel it was like depressing. Tension. And so. Yeah, do you remember the overboard situation,
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Was that not crazy?
Tell that story.
It was like, so obviously when you get on a aircraft carrier, you have to go through these safety protocols, which is great, because that is like being on an aircraft carrier, working on an aircraft carrier can be one of the most dangerous things there is. And so we're briefed about all this stuff in case something happens. So we had like a meeting place, which was the Moose, right?
Oh, right. Yeah. An actual moose head.
Yes.
Because it had something to do with Theodore Roosevelt.
Exactly. So anyway, so they're like, if anything happens, alarm, whatever, we all meet at the Moose. Because he has to do a roll call, make sure, he's got everybody in his group, whatever. Well, this, alarm goes off or whatever, and we're like, what's going on? And they're like, all right, everybody down, you get where you're supposed to be, and so we went, down to the Moose. Muster, there you go. And so we get down there and we're like, what's going on, and then we hear that there's been somebody that's fell overboard. Mm-hmm. And so everybody has a life vest, or a life, I guess you call it a life jacket, whatever that little thing is. And it's got like a little flashing. I don't know what you
Beacon.
call it. Yeah, beacon type thing. So if you fall over and it hits the water, it starts flashing. So it not only does it flash, but it sends a signal.
Mm-hmm.
And so, so they do. You know, they everybody gets their group and they count everybody and say how many got. You know, and they take it to the captain or whatever. You know, and they find out, well, who's the ones missing. Well, it started out there was like 5 people, you know, that they couldn't find.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it kept getting less and less and less. So obviously those people were just heavy sleepers, you know.
Yeah.
And they just didn't hear it. Nobody, you know, didn't wake up, which I'm sure they got chewed out about. But anyway, then we finally got down to, it was like to one person. And it ended up being one of the guys that was with us, safety guys, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And he was standing there, and it was literally like his beacon thing, and his jacket was like literally like going off or whatever. And it took, how long did it take? It took like 30 minutes to get this all figured out.
They were so mad too.
Yeah.
And I think actually the last couple of guys, they were just so far down in the belly of the ship,
Yeah.
they couldn't hear anything.
Maybe that's what, yeah.
But the problem was, you know, the higher up they were, the madder they were.
Oh, yeah.
Because everyone has supervisors, and the supervisors have supervisors. So if you're, you know, supervising someone that's missing, you know, it's your responsibility. But then you have someone under you, it's their responsibility to make sure the people under them. So there's no reason, I don't know, there's probably they want 3 minutes or something. Everyone's at muster.
Yeah.
And it was
quickly.
it was a long, long time.
Yeah, because we're all on the not the flight deck, but the hangar bay, I guess you want to call it, right?
Yeah.
Well, I guess most of us, well, I guess mostly everybody was. I think the planes were down there at that time, too, so it's like really crowded. Like
Yeah.
It was just chaos, man. And everybody's trying to figure this out, and we're listening to the intercom of them talking about it and blah, blah, blah. And then dude is literally like standing beside me, and then somebody comes up. Who was the guy that was in the Navy that was with us?
Mike.
Mike, I think. But I think I want to say it was Mike that walked up to him and said, "Hey, man, your thing's going off." I think it's whatever, and grabbed him and took him. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's somebody in our group. Of course it is, you know.
Yeah. Well, we weren't sure also if it was, I mean, not that it would have mattered, but we weren't sure if it was an actual man overboard
Right.
or if it was a test.
Right. Exactly.
Because
that was true. Yeah, that's true.
I've been on a couple of other ships where they did it as a test.
Yeah.
And they actually have a test dummy that they throw off with that beacon, and then they go through the whole drill.
That's cool.
Do you remember what the Theodore Roosevelt's nickname was?
You mean the nickname of the
The USS Theodore Roosevelt had a nickname. The ship had a nickname.
Rough Rider?
The
No.
Big Stick.
Oh yeah, the big stick. I got to hold that stick. Didn't we get that out? Maybe we shouldn't be saying this. I hope the government's not listening.
No, there were actually multiple big sticks.
Oh,
so,
okay.
You know, Theodore Roosevelt had the saying, "Talk softly and carry a big stick." So
I didn't really know that, and I think I'm even kin to him too. You'd think I would know that.
well, everyone in the United States started sending him every big stick they found.
Really?
So there's all kinds of big sticks that he owned.
Lorena Bobbitt didn't send one. No, I'm just kidding.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know about that. We did all of our interviews in the Big Stick or the Theodore Roosevelt Museum.
Exactly, yeah.
And I can remember that it was basically everything was really glassed in wall displays. And they ended up taking out all the glass because it was reflecting.
Right.
And I just remember, it's like, man, I could so easily steal Theodore Roosevelt's revolver right now.
Yeah,
all I could think about was, like, as I was sitting there, you know, it's interviews forever and ever and ever.
Yeah.
And luckily, I don't have to focus. I don't know how Leif remembered the hundreds of jobs and the descriptions in the Navy.
There's a bunch, man.
But for the rest of us just sitting around, it's like, this is really boring, or we'd wait for sound, or like a noise to stop or whatever. So, you know, mind would wander to, like, how do I get this revolver home?
Yeah, I think I know I fondled the big stick, I think. I don't think I fondled the revolver, though.
And then they had one of Roosevelt's, he had $1,000 shirt. It was like a Western style shirt.
I don't really remember that.
And it just, there was a little tag beside it that said Theodore Roosevelt's $1,000 Western shirt.
Wow. $1,000, huh?
He was my favorite president, the Rough Rider.
Dude, he was a tough guy, man, you know? I mean, I got a lot of respect for that guy. I don't know him personally, but, you know, I think he's a great guy. He did a lot of stuff, you know.
He seemed,
stood up for a lot.
He seemed pretty cool. Like, I don't think any other president could beat him in a fight. Maybe Lincoln. Lincoln had long arms.
Yeah, I know, but
a lot of
Lincoln, I
reach.
feel like that he's literally like just, you know, a pansy. I feel like I don't know. I don't know the guy, but just looking at him, I feel like he'd be a pansy. But you know, me and Leif actually stayed in the Rough Rider room. That was that was our title. What was y'all's room's title?
Sagamore Hill, maybe.
Really? Is that the hill that he would?
So that was one of the homes that he owned. It might not have been Sagamore. It was something similar.
Sycamore?
It was not Sycamore.
Okay.
I think it was Sagamore, and I think when he was dying, he said, "I just want to see Sagamore Hill," or you know, the history buffs, the hundreds of history buffs that are listening to this podcast.
I'm sure there's going to be a bunch.
They're going to be writing me nasty tweets, but
yeah.
Anyway, so as he was dying, he just wanted to see that last time. That was like him and his wife's home, I think, but I could be way off on that. Yeah, that was cool. We stayed in the distinguished visitor quarters, and actually, so we had keys, right? How did we get into?
Yes, we had
actual keys,
literally like room card keys is what we had.
And this was a massive ship, so it wasn't really moving. It was kind of a gentle sway. We stayed on some smaller ships that would rock you.
Right.
I went out into the hallway to do something. Sometimes they'd hand out schedules or whatever I was doing in my socks. And door closed behind me. No key. No one was around. So I was like, man. And it was a long walk to the, our base camp where we had all our equipment and stuff.
I actually, this kind of happened to me too.
So I tried walking there in my socks. And, man, I got lit up by so many Navy personnel. So
what time was this?
Just middle of the afternoon.
Okay.
I waited for I waited for a little while and no one ever came. So I started walking. So anyway, they sent me back, and then one of the officers ended up like, "Hey," he heard what happened. He said, "Come hang out with me. You can come sit in my room." The distinguished visitor quarters were nicer than the officer quarters.
I know, yeah, that's what I heard. I felt so bad because like we're like on this as guests, and all of these young kids are like in these 50 bunk, quarters or whatever.
No,
it's
no
like
personal space,
nothing.
No personal effects.
I mean, we got to eat in the khaki, mess halls. We were treated very well on there.
Yeah, and then we were actually in the same quarters that the Top Gun crew stayed in.
That's right.
Do you remember what they called the Top Gun crew? Maybe you don't know this.
I want to say I heard somebody say something. What did they? Because they weren't happy with them. Has it got something to do with that?
Not that I know.
Well,
of. So instead of calling them Top Gun crew, they called them Island Plaza. That was their code name, and the only reason I know that was because under my mattress was they made the MCs made them their own guest book or like a pamphlet basically,
right?
And it was kind of embarrassing. Like there's one thing about it's a whole bunch of cartoon characters of like feminine products and things to not flush into the toilet, and they're all marching. I have it at the office. I'll show you sometime.
I'd love to see that.
But it said Island Plaza on the front, and it was like a drone photo of the ship, and then it was just like how to get places, and like if you need to, there were phones. I think you could dial certain things.
We didn't get that.
Yeah, we didn't get anything.
No.
We just got lost a lot. Yeah, that was a wild trip.
Yeah, I mean, I locked myself out at night. Like this is like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. And because it was dark, I didn't, Leif's asleep, and I had to go to the bathroom, and so I just, I would keep my like key card in like my pants that I had on that I took off,
Yeah.
And so I just would just reach in there and pull it out, right? Well, I obviously had another card like my Food Line card or something, and I grabbed it instead, and so I go to the bathroom, I come back, and I pull that out, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
Oh yeah, we had the Navy cards that they gave us.
Yeah,
like
door key card.
Prepay.
And it was like, so I'm kind of like knocking on the door, and I'm like, I don't really want to wake Leif up and look like an idiot, like in the middle of the night. So I'm like tapping. I'm like, And I remember them telling us to go to mass communication, which is not the one that we were usually hanging out in, but the one that they had the press and the paper and all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? That
the print shop.
The print shop. There you go. And so I found my way there. I'm in my freaking sleeping pants, my jogging, or whatever you want to call them. And so I'm in basically pajamas, and I get down there. I don't even know if I had shoes on. I don't even think I did. I'm like barefoot or something. Anyway, and I get down there and I'm telling them all this, and they're like, okay, well, let's see if I can figure this out. And so I had to sit there and wait forever. And finally, somebody took me back up to get me in. So it was like an hour at least that I'm like in the middle of the night, locked out of my room.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is not the place to be doing this. It's like, so, I mean, for one, you don't know you can't find anything because there's like tunnels everywhere.
Everything looks the same.
Yeah. You're like, what floor am I on? Like, what? Oh, here's the barber shop. Okay, that looks familiar, But then you're like, is this on this end or what? It's just unbelievable, man. It was just crazy.
Yeah, I forgot how the bathrooms right beside us didn't work. I used them every time.
I did too. I mean,
there was like the whole bathroom was like closed off and they had stuff over it, but I couldn't figure out what wasn't working, so I just kept using them.
Well, I talked to my buddy Matt, which is was a master chief or whatever, and he says they do that all the time. Like it's like there's something going on with the pumping on it. They have to like stop some of the water pumping or something for some reason. I don't know, but he says that happens all the time.
I guess as long as everybody's not doing it, then maybe what we did was okay.
That's what Matt said. He's like, that's what they do. So I was like, that's what I did. I mean, because like the nearest one was like, it wasn't close at all. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I don't know where I'm going. I'm lost on this thing. There's no way I'm going to go find, because it was so easy to find out. Well, I say easy. There was only like 3 turns or something like that. But like the doors are not really labeled. It's like, it's just confusing.
I feel like the very last day we were there, I was just feeling a little bit comfortable, and I kind of had, at that point, it's like, man, if I had been this good when I started, by the time I got to like the end, the 7th day, I would have this place mastered. But I bet we didn't. I bet we only saw 10% of that ship. It was so big.
You're probably right, and a lot of steps too.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that was fun. So before we get on to the most exciting part, where we talk about Sasquatch, which I know you're going to be real excited about, I wanted to start with a question. So you and I were on set about a week ago, and I think you said you had listened. You started to listen to one of the podcasts. Or?
Yes, I did. I just I don't know who you had on, but it seemed like I was sitting on behind a table. Or
I think it was
like
Stratton.
Oh, it might have been Stratton.
Tingle
I think you're right. Yeah.
So you said something, and I remember the exact words you said, and I thought it was funny. You said, I wrote it down.
Did you write? Because I don't remember what I said.
I was unsure what you were trying to achieve.
That could have been that's probably what I said.
So, I thought that was funny, and like that's the kind of feedback I wish more people would give me.
Right.
What did you mean by that?
Well, I just didn't understand what y'all are making music, or try to remember what y'all were trying.
We were just doing a listening party.
Maybe that's what I was just confused. Like this podcast thing is kind of new to me anyway, and I'm just was kind of confused of what y'all are really doing. It's like there wasn't like a topic in a sense that y'all are just exactly covering. Y'all were doing music stuff and just doing stuff, and I just didn't know what it was all about.
You might have come in late on the live stream, which would make sense.
Yes.
So we did kind of a traditional podcast. I called it a double feature. We did a traditional podcast. We just kind of talked like you and I did, just catching up, and then we did a listening party of his band that I was the #1 fan of for years.
Oh, okay, I got you. That makes more sense now. Sorry.
Yeah,
yeah.
I didn't know. I didn't realize you'd only heard the live stream. Yeah. So I was going to just say, like, I don't know if I need to describe what I'm trying to achieve, and it made me think a whole lot of things that maybe I should figure out.
Really?
And the whole point
I didn't hurt your feelings.
You definitely did not. But I thought that was funny. It was just kind of you had game face on. You were working, and I think my day had ended when you said that. So I was like, man, like what I'm trying to achieve in general, I thought you were saying high level, not about that very specific thing.
Right.
But it's just kind of talking to my friends, people who are important to me, have influenced me, people who have good stories, and it's just kind of, it's a podcast about me. So we're just trying to achieve, it's a little bit entertainment. I think people will, some guests people will think are interesting, and other guests people won't think are interesting. But
I think it's a great thing.
Just sitting down, kind of documenting myself through other people.
I mean, it kind of reminds me of like my friends. Like, we get together sometimes. We talk about stuff that happened, when we were in like our 20s and we was partying hard, and we're like, you get to relive that. And it's kind of like that, right? But you're actually recording it, so we can actually go back and listen to it. And you got that. Forever, man. I think it's great.
Yeah, so this is something, if I have regular listeners, I doubt that I do.
Well, hey, regular
I bring this up a lot, but I think you'll find it interesting, and then we'll get into the juicy part. So, you know who Tolkien is? Lord of the Rings writer. Yes. And C.S. Lewis. Mm-hmm. And they had another friend, and every time I don't know his name, I think it's Williams. So they had a group called the Inklings, and they'd get together, and they believed that 3 was the best amount of friends, because you and I can get to know each other, as we're talking.
Right.
But say then when you're talking to Leif, and I can see your friendship and your interaction, I can get to know you from that third person, from like a side. So we can see each other straight on, and then I can learn about you and get to know you from the side.
Triangle effect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's another way is, letting people get to know me through my interactions with you and other guests.
Right, so. Which a lot of times if you don't know anybody, I mean, obviously if you've got a mutual friend, they're going to be talking a little bit more than you're going to be talking to, you know what I mean? So then you can kind of listen in and learn more about them. And I think, love it.
All right, well, let's get at it. Tell me, start from the very beginning.
We're talking about Sasquatch here?
So okay. Let me start. Is Sasquatch, Yeti, and Bigfoot all the same thing? Yeah,
it's basically just geographic in a sense. So it's like, Sasquatch or Bigfoot, it's like North America, mm-hmm. And then you got the swamp ape, which is like Florida, like swampy areas,
Swamp ape?
Swamp ape.
Gotcha.
Yes. Yeah, sorry, I got country slang here. And then you got the Yeti, which is more like the abdominal snowman, which is more in Asia or whatever, the colder
When I think of
areas.
Yeti, I think of white.
Yes, exactly. And so, let's see, what else do we have? What do they call it? Obviously the Indians and tribal people call it other things. I don't even know. Can't even tell you. So, there's a few names for it, but it's pretty much the same creature in a sense, just in a different geographic location. Mm-hmm. So, I guess you want to know where it all starts, huh?
Yeah, I'm actually this is fun because we've talked about it a little bit, and then Leif was saying you had some really good stories on the trip to Alaska. I don't remember any of them. I might have been sleeping. I was probably sleeping, but then I know you've told some really good stories when we were down in Atlanta on Cantu.
Yep.
You were showing video, but I feel like every time I've thought about it or you're telling the stories, I have game face on. So I'm busy doing my thing, and I'm like, well, I'm interested. I want to hear. But I actually don't know as much as I should know because I've been in the same room or car.
But you're a busy man on set, too.
That's true.
Very true.
So,
because you take care of people, that's why.
I look forward to actually having this conversation now and letting other people know what's happening. So I know you have video of Sasquatch.
I feel like it's Sasquatch. I mean, other people might not think. Other people, a lot of people don't even see the thing in the video. It's just crazy. But so I do. I've been out in the woods. I've seen a lot of footprints. I've seen a lot of stuff. Right. But where how it got started is just being, when I was growing up, people, kids were outside all the time. We're in the woods, playing. Mm-hmm. And then you hear, then you got all these stories about big hairy man in the woods, and blah, blah, blah. And so as a kid, you're always curious, especially when it's dark outside.
Yeah.
What's in those woods? What's making those noises, right?
Yeah.
What's going to get me,
Yep.
And my grandma always used to say, if you're scared, that's that devil inside you. So anyway, so what happened is I just was curious, right? So, they got all these shows that came on TV, and so I just watched those, and it just makes me more curious of what's going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you get out in the woods and you start seeing things, and it just keeps evolving from there. It's like it just becomes part of you, and you're like, you can't stop. Like, you want to see it. You want to, it's very just magical, I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, to progress a little bit, me and my family, my wife and kids, ex-wife now, we went camping, okay, which is in the Chattahoochee National Forest, which is just outside Villanelle,
Mm-hmm.
Johns Mountain, stuff like that. So we went camping there. Very first time I've ever been camping in this place, okay? It's a really great place to go camping. It's like traditional camping. You're not like paved spots beside each other with no hardly trees around. You're like just up on each other, you know what I'm saying? This is like you have trees and woods, separating you in a sense. And it's literally like there's no phone service out there. So it's out there. So anyway, I was like, I get this place. I'm like, this place just feels amazing. Man, it's just great. And anyway, so this to say is like we're progressing through the day. We just got through eating, standing by the fire. My two older kids, they went into the pop-up, just laying down. So it was just me and my wife around the campfire and my youngest one. So throughout the day, I would hear stuff, right? Because I'm just always toned in when you're out in the woods. I like to hear the noises.
Yep.
And so I would just make comments. My wife gave me a bunch of crap about believing in Sasquatch. You know what I'm saying? She felt like that, there's probably a mermaid before a Sasquatch, which I think is ridiculous. So anyway, so I just make comments to pick at her. You know how I like to pick anyway. So so during the day I would I would literally hear this stuff, but I would just make comments to just get her fired up. I'm like, did you hear that? I had to be a daggum tree being pushed over, and then I'll be like, oh, that was a knock, and I was hearing this stuff. Anyway, so long story short, it's like we're standing at the fire. It's probably like 12 o'clock at night. I don't know, something like that. My son is standing there and he's like, I feel really weird. Like he had like butterflies in his stomach. You know what I mean? I'm like, I probably had too much sugar, blah, blah, blew it off. So we all and go lay down, and I'm sitting there and we're in a pop-up tent or camp, whatever you want to call it. So, you can unzip the little cover things and it's just mesh. Like you can hear every sound in the woods.
Mm-hmm.
And it is dark. And so we're laying there, and of course I'm laying there, and my wife's like, you're gonna be laying here listening to noises, aren't you, for a while? I'm like, yeah, I just like to listen, And so I'm laying there, I don't even know, my wife falls asleep. So I'm gonna say, this is like 1:30 in the morning, I don't know. But I'm laying there, I hear these dogs, like, barking, but they weren't barking, they were yelping. Like they were scared or hurt, right?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know where it was coming from. I was like, this is a national forest. Like, this is kind of weird. I thought, oh, well, maybe they're coon hunting. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so they're just yelping. All of a sudden, a gunshot goes off. Bam! One gunshot. They stop barking for like a second or two, and then right back at it. So 3 shots go off, okay? On the 4th shot, you just hear, oh! Like the dog shot. I don't even know. Mm-hmm. But it was very weird. I was like, this is strange, because we were out in the woods. Like, it just didn't make sense. Not even 10 to 15 minutes later, this howl comes, and it sounded literally like it was 100 feet from us. It was like when it first started, it's just like a person. That was the first thing that popped in my head. Like, that's a person. Like, that's not like an animal. That's like a person. Mm-hmm. And it was like one tone, it went to a different tone, and then back to the same tone, the very first tone again. And it was so long. I was like, there's no way a human could do that. There's no way, man. And man, when that happened, my wife literally sat straight up and looked at me, and I was like, shh. And let's just say she doesn't give me any crap about the Sasquatch thing anymore after that. So what's the craziest thing is, it's like my kids, I wake them up and stuff, and my daughter, she's freaked out. And so we're literally getting baptized the next morning, okay? And then after that, I got to drive to Chicago. Okay, this is like 2:30 in the morning on a Sunday morning at this point. And anyway, so we're thinking we're just not going to leave. We're just leaving. Well, my Tahoe, the battery's dead. Okay, so I have to march across the road to the campers across from us and wake them up to get them to jump me off. All right. Well, I get over there and I see somebody laying in the back of the truck, and I'm like, I start talking to him because that was the first person I came to. I was like, hey man, sorry, my truck, it's dead. Can y'all jump us off? I was like, my daughter, we heard something and she's freaked out. We're gonna leave or whatever. And when I said that, the actual husband and wife, I think that was their son that I was talking to, were in a tent, and I heard her say, yeah, we heard that too. And I'm like, okay, cool, right? Well, he gets up, he comes over there, he jumps me off, and as he's jumping me off, he's like, oh yeah, I remember the first time I heard one of them screech owls. He was out hunting or whatever. He was sitting on a tree, and it was, and that screech happened or whatever. And he's like, it just went, just went through my bones, And I'm like, I looked at him. I said, a screech owl. I was like, I guess I shouldn't have told my family I was a Sasquatch then. And he looked at me like, what? And I'm thinking to myself, there's no way that was a screech owl. Okay, there's no possible way. I'm telling my wife this. We're leaving. Finally, when we get phone coverage, she's like pulling up YouTube stuff, screech owl stuff, listening to that. She's like, that didn't sound nothing like that. I was like, I know that. Anyway, so that kind of got me going, right? And then every time I've been back to that same place, something's happened. I mean, like just something. My kid and his buddy got rocks thrown at them, and my wife was actually standing there with them. I've gotten growls. I've got just tons of stuff has happened there. So it just makes you want to go. You're just that more intrigued about it, and you want to know. Well, anyway, I did video one. Actually, I feel like it's one. I don't know what else it could be. Actually, more than one now. So I kind of felt like after that happened, like there was no more for me to do. You know what I mean? Like I kind of felt bummed, like my interest was not there as much as it was before, and it just so I just keep going out and just doing research and just searching and just finding stuff. It's easy. It's all over the place. It's not hard to find. there's footprints, there's trees knocked, that's broke off. Humans can't do that. So anyway, so I've ran up on a whole like family, I'm gonna say juveniles. I never got any aggression from them, so I don't know if mom and dad are out hunting. I don't know. I've gotten in like the little ones. They like nest in trees. These things can climb trees like you wouldn't believe. And I guess I would too if I lived in the woods. There's trees around. So I've gotten that. I'll take food out to them and just leave like some cheeseburgers from McDonald's. You know what I mean? Or take some Kit-kats out there.
Yeah.
They love that, man. I'll just go out there and I'll just walk around and talk to them. Hey, how y'all doing? I just come out and check on you, stuff like that, just to try to make them feel comfortable with me being there, And I can literally look around and I can just see they're just like behind, just there behind a tree. And it's crazy because like you could kind of see that, but like I can take video and I can go frame by frame later on after that and just go frame by frame and look through. And I have seen so much stuff that you would never see being there, with your naked eye. It's crazy. So anyway, it's just I don't know. It's very intriguing, man. They're out there, and it just aggravates me that people want to judge and say, "Oh, that's ridiculous," right? Or they think there's one of them. How can there just be one Sasquatch roaming around everywhere? You know what I mean? It's like, it doesn't make sense. They're just. I've seen different facial. Just color in color, like really dark black. And light brown, like in the same group, so they're just like us. They're they have. It's so similar to us. So I don't. It's just very intriguing, man. I don't know how to explain it. It's just cool to know that there's some thing out there in the woods, that's lurking at night, making these noises and tree knocks and howls and communicating and all this stuff, and like how they survive and how big they are. It's like they got to eat a bunch of stuff,
How big are they?
The ones that I've seen, it's not been like real big. I've seen tracks that's probably, 18 inches at least, or 16 to 18. But they get up to like 9 foot, maybe even taller than that. and just muscular, like broad shoulders. Their arms come low or low. They come lower down below the knee than ours. Just the way they walk and everything. I mean, it's just, unbelievable. Like,
is it similar to something like a larger version of like something between man and monkey?
If you think of caveman, my opinion is like you think of a caveman, a little more hairier, a lot more protein, but I feel, they're really close to us. They just have a lot of hair on them. Of course, obviously they have more, like some of them are like dome heads, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like some of the stuff that I've got is like they got like pointed ears almost at the top. Weird, I don't know. Big, like a smush nose, you know what I mean? Like this, like broad. Fairly good sized mouth. But yeah, there's just so many different characteristics. They're just like us, There could be a family with totally, the characteristics could be just completely different,
How do they communicate?
Well, they do whoops, they do tree knocks. They even have like their own language, I feel like, because I've gotten some recordings of like it's almost like ape-like, like hooting and hollering. I don't know. That's the only thing I can think of. It's like I can just tell it looks like they're like almost lined up, walking through the woods, just walking, into a different area or whatever, and they're just like cutting up between each other. It's like, but like, I don't know I can't do it, but it's like ape-like noises. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's stuff that I've seen and heard, and that there's just no way as a human. There's just no way.
Why do you think people don't see them more often?
People do see them all the time.
They just don't know it?
No, they do know it. A lot of them that don't want to say anything. Because, people make fun of them. It's like, oh, that's ridiculous, It's like, okay, if you've not been out in the woods, if you go out in the woods, especially in the North Georgia mountains, or just in the South in general. Actually, the whole South, the eastern side of the United States. They're all up and down there. There's plenty of woods. They can hide all day long. I just feel like that they're getting to where, obviously the population is getting, is growing and stuff. So people are going to be forced around them a lot more,
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same for them. Like they're like growing too, So we're just running into each other, but it's like nobody can explain it because there's nothing to actually put the evidence against. Like, you can't figure out what this is if you got nothing to compare it to. You know what I mean? Like, there's been plenty of stuff that's that's been found. It's just we can't come to that conclusion because we have nothing to base it off of.
Mm-hmm. Are they afraid of humans?
I don't think they're no.
They just, it's not fear, they just avoid humans?
Yes, they try to avoid. Now, but if you're in their territory or whatever, their area, they're just like us in a sense. They just don't want people just coming in and taking over. They just don't want you there. But like, I feel like as long as you're not threatening them and you're just kind of, just being cool, calm, collective,
Mm-hmm.
just checking things out and not encroaching on them or whatever. I don't feel threatened at all. They'll throw rocks at you. They'll let you know when you're getting too close. They even do diversions. Like, they're smart, very smart. Like, they'll have them like in a circle around you and like want to throw a rock. Like, if they don't want you to, if you're walking in a direction, they don't want you to go in. You know what I mean? Like, you might see something. They'll do something to make you turn around and go the other way. Basically,
Mm-hmm.
They smart.
So is there a certain level of like supernatural with them, or they're just a mammal, like it's common as no different than a bear or a human or a goldfish?
You know what? I was very skeptical about I don't know, because people kind of compare it to like supernatural, supernatural stuff, like it's like a supernatural thing, and I was like, that's ridiculous. But since then, I've seen stuff that's been kind of weird. It's like I can literally look at my video or whatever. I'm there in person. I see nothing. It could be 5 feet from me, and I will not see it. And I can look at my video and see this. It's like, how did I not see that? And it's almost like if they want you to see them, they just are there. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of weird, man. I feel like that it's not exactly supernatural, but it sometimes feels that way. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Are they? Would you say they're masters of disguise?
Oh yeah. I mean, because I say that, but like, I can look at something and I can pick it out, because if you're in the woods and you see something black, there's not a lot of stuff that's black in the woods. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at it, the contrast of it, it just blends in. Like, you have no idea. You can just see something black and you're like, that looks weird, but you can't tell any definition. It almost looks like, because it's always behind some limbs and some leaves and stuff like that. They just know how to blend in. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I was wondering if, there's, like you said, there's probably a lot out there that we don't know. I wonder if there's some amount of, thinking about a chameleon, they can change their color. Do you think that the Sasquatch can change its color at all?
I don't feel that way. I feel like that their fur, hair, whatever color depends on their environment, wherever they're at. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
There's reddish. People see reddish hair, gray, black, brownish. There's all kinds of different colors, but mine's been mostly black that I've noticed.
And what are the hot spots in the United States? Like, where's the most concentrated amounts of the Sasquatch in the U.S.?
National Forest.
I've heard there's been a lot of sightings in California.
Oh yeah, like Northern California and stuff. Yes.
What's like you said you do research? What's like for the average person like me? What's a author or a book, or how does one learn more about the Sasquatch?
Yeah, there's tons of books out there. But me personally, I just went out in the woods and just started. Obviously I watched Finding Bigfoot on TV, so you can watch. They got shows on TV that you can kind of learn stuff from. And really, you just need a little bit of stuff to base off of. And then you can go out in the woods and you start seeing this stuff, and then you just start putting it all together. You know what I'm saying? You just start picking up on this, picking up on that, and you just kind of put it all together, But it's almost... Sometimes I feel like that I'm just going crazy. Like, am I really seeing this? Because I can show people the same thing, and they don't see the same thing,
Mm-hmm.
Which... I don't take very well. Like, that's when I post stuff on my Facebook. I got a Sasquatch page or whatever on Facebook. Like, I can post something and they're like, I don't see anything. It's like, how do you not see that? And it kind of gets me. I'm like, how do you not see that? I want to get like just aggravated, and I'm like, wait a second. There's always going to be those people. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I shouldn't let that get to me. But I want people to see this. You know what I'm saying? And it just gets all over me because they can't see this.
Yeah, I remember having a conversation with you too. It seems like you get set off a little bit when people try to make it like a fantasy and like don't take it seriously, because there's a book series that I like, and there's like Sasquatch is a major part of it, and he's kind of a mythical creature. His name is River Shoulders, and he's like real well connected with the Native American community. Do you think there is a connection? Like, the Native Americans are more aware and connected with the Sasquatch?
Oh yeah, for sure. Because they've been noticing or interacting with this thing for hundreds of years.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody, it's passed down. Everybody knows it. It's in the Indian or tribal community, and they respect it. So they pretty much just try to stay, let it do its thing, let it have its own area. We'll just stay away from it, because it's got to respect that, right? It's just like your neighbors, you just give them their space and don't bother them, You don't try to push things. And I feel like a lot of people try to go out there and do that. You know what I mean? Like, they're just trying to stir up something. I don't feel like you should be treating them that way. And don't get me wrong, I went that route once, and I felt so bad for literally like, just trying to get a reaction from them, like running and darting through the woods and just acting stupid. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, I shouldn't have done that. This is their land. They live here. I don't live here. I should respect that. So yeah, I just, the tribal thing. I mean, they've known for hundreds of years that they've interacted with them. So
And
plenty of documents.
when you're going out, it's not called hunting.
No, it's yeah.
I mean, hunting has different meanings, but
I don't really know
what
what
do you
the
call
word.
it?
That's what I'm saying. I say squatching. I'm going squatching. But yeah, hunting is not a good word because I don't want to shoot the thing or nothing or hunt it. I just want it. I want to research it. It's like a researching thing. So squatching, it fits very well, I think.
I like it. Is there I feel like there's also derogatory. Squatch is isn't it kind of derogatory as well?
I mean, I don't. A lot of people use Sasquatch. They call it Sasquatch. I think that's one of the original names they come up with. And I think they got it from the Indians or the tribal people used to call them something similar to that or something. I don't know. But everybody, I think a lot from the '60s, like the Gilmer Patterson film.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of, he just got the name Bigfoot. Well, actually, there was a guy that went out and hoaxed a bunch of big footprints, and he kind of came up with a Bigfoot name terminology. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. You can call him whatever you want, hairy man, whatever.
How many years now have you been squatching?
Probably. Good question. I don't know, 6 years at least.
How often do you go out
more.
now?
Actually, I haven't been out that much recently. That's the thing is during the summertime, I don't like snakes. It's hard to squatch when you're too worried about a snake on the ground in front of you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been a few times, but mostly during the fall or when it's not overgrown too much. Fall, winter, early winter, spring, late winter, spring or whatever. That's when I've had the most interactions with them, I guess.
How old do you think they get?
That's a very good question.
Because you said you've seen juvenile.
Yeah.
You think juvenile are they're more immature, and that's why you're seeing them more? They're less practiced at hiding and being stealthy?
I feel like that, but the interaction I've had, there's been a group. So just think about your kids playing with some neighborhood kids. You know what I mean? And they're just having a good time. They don't really know what's going on around them. You know what I mean? And it's oh, is that somebody coming? We should hide. You know what I mean? It's one of those things, just catch them off guard or whatever because they're not exactly paying attention. And I feel like that was the case, Yeah. Because, I literally ran into a couple of them hiding over here, came back over the ridge, got the video of that one. You could clearly, in my video, I feel like there was 2 or 3 around that one. You just couldn't see exactly clearly. I don't know. I feel like there's multiple women involved, females, and then maybe one male. So it's him and his women and all the kids that they made, as a group. I feel like they probably migrate a little bit and, I don't know, a couple 15 miles, 10 miles or something. They just keep moving and moving and moving, because obviously they eat deer. They gotta have a water source. You got to keep moving, if you're going to still have that, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So they're omnivores?
They like meat.
They love
they eat
cheeseburger?
they'll eat, they eat berries and stuff, I'm sure. You can't always have it's we can't always have a T-bone steak or a ribeye, you know what I mean? Sometimes you just got to settle for something like a snake or a lizard,
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Well, that's cool. So you mentioned a few minutes ago that you have a Facebook. Do you have, if people want to see your videos or learn more from you, where can they find this info and media?
It is called Hidden Master Sasquatch Chronicles. You like that? Hidden Master? It's genius.
Yeah.
Came up with that. Because they're a master at hiding, right?
Is that only on Facebook, or do you have it other places?
No, it's
too?
just on Facebook, actually.
How many videos do you have, do you think, of all your squatching and sightings?
I've got a bunch of video but actually, like legit video, you could actually say, oh, that's something. You know, I've only got like a couple of those, but I mean, I've got a ton of stuff that you can actually see things in, but you have to break it frame by frame. It just would take forever for me to just literally take each one of those and like put it in its own little clip, you know.
Yeah, I've never actually seen any, but I remember when we were down in Atlanta, you were showing people, and they're like, wow, that is something.
Yeah,
like, I mean, there's something obviously there.
I've got, I mean, I don't know how many footprints I've got, in which that to me is like, who cares about footprints? You know, people seem to worry about you know, oh, we need to cast this footprint. I don't need to cast a foot. I can see it. It's there. I know they're around me. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need that to tell everybody. You know, at some point I had to realize that I just need to. I need to be convinced. I don't need to be convincing everybody else. Like, I just need to see it myself and know that it's a real thing, and that's it. You know. So anyway, but yeah, I've gotten a video recently. It looks like a dog face. It's just the weirdest thing to me.
Are you, when you're out squatching, are you always alone, or do you take, like, what's the most amount of people you can take? Because I feel like, you know, if you were, say, we're going out just to look for deer, one person would probably see a lot of deer.
Yeah.
But you take your family, or, you know, 3 people, and the amount of noise and the human smell.
Right.
You know, they smell you a mile away and disappear.
Yeah, I mean, I go by myself a lot. Not necessarily at night, but maybe in the evening, you know, right before, you know, like at dusk or whatever. And I'll just go and sit and listen and just look for trees pushed over or structures like they'll push trees down, like, and then they'll stack trees. So, you know, just like I feel like it's the juveniles just learning, you know what I mean? Just kind of playing and learning how to do things. You know, so I've seen a ton of that, and then obviously smell, because you can smell these things. Like the first video I got, it smelled like weed, like we were going to walk up on a weed, like a growing operation in the woods, you know? And
that kind of skunky smell?
Yeah, exactly. And so that's where it all started from, was there, and I was like, I do smell that, you know? And then, well, you know what, I mean, I was getting video of something behind a tree, and I'm like, that makes sense, right? I mean, they don't take baths probably that much, so they got to smell bad. I was going to show a video. That's what I was going to do, wasn't it?
Yeah. Show me a way, and if we need to take a break, I'll just cut out 30 seconds.
Well, dude, I've kept you long enough, I'm sure.
No, I've enjoyed this.
If you look at this, watch it, you can see it blink.
I see a face for sure.
Does that? I mean, what do you think that could be? Does it look like a dog face? I feel like it looks like a dog face, just an overgrown dog face.
Yeah, it looks like something in the vein of a bear. I see the face very clear. It looks like a bear to me.
Well, that's what another guy said. I don't feel like a bear would be just sitting like that watching me. You know what I mean? Like a bear wouldn't have a snout. I mean, its snout wouldn't be like that, I wouldn't think, or its nose area. And the ears. You know, it just feels like it's a very boxy head. Like I think of a Doberman, like an oversized Doberman head or something, you know? But look, you see?
Yeah, I definitely see it.
I mean, it's just hanging out. I mean, like, how many bears
it looks like a primate also.
Yeah, it's weird looking, isn't it?
It's clear that you see the eyes, you see the nose. It looks like a cross between a dog and
a bear.
Yeah, a bear.
It's weird, ain't it? So you hadn't seen the other video either, right? Okay, let's see if I can find it.
I mean, it's one of those things too, like phone video is only so 3D, so you really need to be there in person.
Right.
To see it. I guess smell and sound and whatever all play into it.
I could never find this. It's like I can find it all day long if I'm not looking for it. It's like the thing is, I could go on my Facebook. Like on Facebook, you can't really zoom in on it, you know? It's like, all right, the honey hole, let's see. Is it in the honey hole? I'm going to have to hunt this thing. That's what's going to have to happen. Here. This is the Facebook headmaster of the Sasquatch Chronicles.
I like it.
So, videos. Where's the videos?
You have a YouTube channel as well?
I've got a YouTube channel, but I've only posted maybe like 2 things on it, and I've got like no views. I don't even think I may have 1 follower, which would have been my wife. You know, I mean, people like I could do stuff like that, and people are like, they don't care. Like, I'm just not entertaining in that sense, I guess. Here's the outline. So if you look at this, all right, it almost looks like it's nonchalantly just laying down on its side, just kind of just watching me, right? But you see the nose, so like it's black, but its face is brown. I don't know any brown bears that has black hair and a brown face.
Yeah, and it's also kind of longer than what I would expect. Bears are more round, like a circle. Right. That's more of a line.
Like this is, you can tell this is like a bipedal something, because it's just kind of watching, laying there. Like you wouldn't see a bear, it wouldn't be, laying. But I mean, even all around this thing, you can see. You can't see it now. There's Bucky, by the way.
Yep, I remember him.
But I mean, I've got tons of like footprints and like, I mean, that was a handprint. Can't see that one. It's hard to pick that up on camera.
Is that a structure?
Was a paw print.
That back.
Yeah, that's when me and Bucky went one night and we got a rock thrown at us and stuff. Which is not far from where we go camping actually. It's just out in the woods. They like just strategically put these, they break limbs or trees or whatever, and they just like strategically put it in there. Like it couldn't fall like that, they wedge it in between things. Look at this. That's in between that tree and this tree.
Looks
and
like
that one too.
teeter-totter.
It's like there's no way like a person would be doing that. So yeah, I'm totally into the Bigfoot thing. It's very intriguing. I like to listen to noises at night. I want to know what's out there. I did take some of my church kids out on a squatch one night.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. You was asking me a question about how many people go. I forgot. That's what it was.
Oh, yeah, taking groups.
Yeah, so I normally go by myself a lot, but like if I'm going camping and like my girlfriend now, like I try to get them to go, because at nighttime it gets a little scary. I don't like to be by myself in the night. I have done it, but it's not. It's very intense. So I'll just get a couple people to go. But I have taken a kid, my church group kids, 6th graders that I had at student ministry, and we went out one night. It was like 12 o'clock at night, and this is like old Fort Tennessee, so it's all wooded mostly. It's close to Ocoee. And I take them out, and they was loving it. I was enjoying it, but we get to the point to where it's time to go back. I was trying to find us a quicker way to get back, right? Yeah. I'm like, wait a second. Looking at my GPS, it's like, I think there's a road here. Let me go check it out. Y'all stay right here. Man, I went around this corner. I was probably, 150 yards from them. I get around this corner, and I'm looking, and it's all of a sudden, I hear this rock coming through the freaking limbs of trees at me. So, like, the left side is a creek. I'm on this gravel road, creek, like a little hill, like a bank here. And it's literally coming through these trees. Like, it had to be pretty good size, because, it was making some noise. And, like, lands in the creek beside me. I'm like, oh, no. So I turn around, and I'm, like, booking it, right? I come around the bend. All the kids are sitting there waiting on me, and I'm booking it. Of course, they're like, first reaction, like, what's going on? What's going on? I'm like, nothing. I didn't want to tell them, freak them out. But I did tell them when I got back. But it was so funny because my pastor was hiding in our bathroom, okay, in our little dorm that we were staying in, because this was like a fall camp thing. And so he knew I was out taking him squatching, and so he thought it would be cool to be in the bathroom and scare us when we got in there. So, but I told the kids what happened. My adrenaline was pumping like for hours after that. It was crazy, but I didn't tell them at that time. I figured it would be like a, and I would probably be in trouble. But yeah, it's just fun. It's fun. It's adrenaline packed. I like adrenaline.
Well, that's fun. So I usually like to wrap up with just some fun questions. See what you respond. If the response sucks, I'll just cut it and we'll go to the next one.
That's what I love.
But as I was thinking about lightning round questions, you have one song that you karaoke to. I can't remember. I want to say
I did on the ship.
It's not Pearl Jam. It's Live.
Kings of Leon? Oh, Live. I do
Live.
do Live. Yeah, I do love Live.
I remember. I knew it was. I forgot. Kings of Leon and Live, I feel like, are your two favorite bands.
Yes, actually.
Are you a fan of Alice in Chains?
That's my favorite, actually.
I'm going in October to see the Smashing Pumpkins, who are touring with
Yes, they
Al-
are. Yeah.
Alice in Chains. So if you want to go,
Now, which one are you going to? The one that's going to be at. I know the Smashing Pumpkins are coming somewhere close, right?
there's one
Bridgestone?
in.
No.
It's like a Sunday, and one's a Sunday show, one's a Monday show, I think.
Where's it at?
One's in Atlanta, one's in Nashville.
Yes, I got you. Right.
So I'm going to go to either one or the other.
I mean, it's great. You know, I've seen Alice in Chains tons of times. Obviously, I never got to see him with Lane, you know, because my youngest is named after Lane, actually, his middle name. So I've seen them tons of times without Lane, which is
I don't
great.
know
I
anything
love 'em.
about them, but I kind of like them. When I hear them, I wouldn't turn them off like the radio, but I couldn't really name a song. The
Really?
Rooster song? Do they sing the
Yeah,
Rooster song?
Rooster. You know, that's about the actual lead guitar's dad when he was in Vietnam. I think that was his name. They called him Rooster. I don't know, something like that. But anyway, that's what it was about. But but a lot of it's about Lane, you know, the earlier stuff, and the struggle with heroin, basically, you know. And that's a lot of the grunge stuff is like that. And I'm a grunge person because that's, you know, I grew up around. That's what was playing in the 90s, early 90s, and that's when I was a teenager, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm Alice in Chains. You know, Soundgarden, Pearl Jam. Never was a big Nirvana fan. I feel like they was trying to steal the grunge thing when they didn't deserve that. But anyway, Soundgarden, yeah, all that stuff. Mother Love Bones, where it all started, actually.
Mother Love Bones?
Mhm.
Is that a band?
Yeah, Mother Love Bones.
Oh,
yeah.
I don't know that.
Which is Pearl Jam, actually. It was Mother. Okay, so everybody in Pearl Jam, minus Eddie Vedder, the lead singer, was in a band, Mother Love Bone, prior to that. Okay, which had Andy as the lead singer. Okay, Andy Wood. He just overdosed on heroin, and so have you heard of Temple of the Dog, which is
I don't think so.
Eddie Vedder and Soundgarden. Mine's went blank. Chris Cornell. Okay, so like they took the guys from from Pearl Jam basically, and then kind of made their own little side thing, right? Well, all the songs are pretty much written about Andy, you know, which was, you know, the guys that in his band, you know, that was their band. They was going somewhere, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, that's what really was the start of grunge, was Mother Love Bone.
That's interesting. I'll look into them.
Yeah.
So my original question, what
sorry.
your go-to song? It's Kings of Leon?
I can do mostly majority of the songs on Mechanical Bull. It's that. It's well, I do like Use Somebody. I can do a pretty good job with that.
Mm-hmm.
Candlebox and Live, obviously. I like Live. I can do Alice in Chains. I can do anything. I can do Garth Brooks, man. If you want country, I can do country.
I believe that. So
John Anderson.
if you only hit one song, what is your favorite song, either right now or all time, that you can karaoke to?
That I feel like that I do a good job at. Is that what you're asking me?
What does your voice lend itself to? Or like you're say you're a single young man and you really want to impress that girl across the pool table, and karaoke, they turn on the karaoke machine. I feel like you'd be the first one to raise your hand. I mean, she's a 10. She's a perfect 10 over there. What song would you sing?
Probably Use Somebody, maybe. Yeah. I mean, I feel like I do a good job. I mostly karaoke that out because people know that song.
Mm-hmm.
I do like Live Overcome. That song is amazing. Like, when I sing that song, I'm really into that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I love the emotion that I get from it, all that stuff. I love that. But not many people know that, and it kind of is weird, you know, for people that hasn't listened to that song or live that much. They would be like, "Oh, what is it?" You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So I would say Use Somebody would be the one, or the one I sang on the ship.
What was that?
That was, what was that? Beautiful War by Kings of Leon.
I think I came in late. I was working on, while you guys were setting up for that, I think I was somewhere else.
You didn't get to see me sing at all, dude?
I think I came in late.
Oh, my gosh. I was the very first one.
I was ready for it, yeah. Do you listen to podcasts?
I have, but not very much.
No. Do you have a favorite or one that you want to listen to besides Esoteric?
I mean, I like to listen about Sasquatch stuff, basically. You know,
Is there like a main? Do you know what the most popular Sasquatch podcast is?
Not really, no. No.
What's your favorite book?
You know, I don't do much reading.
Pass.
Pass. Let's pass. Yes. Where's the button?
I was going to ask favorite band, but we already talked about bands.
Boom.
Alice in Chains. What are you afraid of? Snakes.
Snakes. Big time snakes. And the dark. That's the devil inside me.
the fear.
Yeah. Hey, we should probably wrap it up. We've been going at this for like 3 hours, I think. Yeah.
I don't know. Is there anything else that people should know about you? You have a twin brother.
I have a twin brother. Yes.
Who's the handsome brother?
He's not the handsome one.
You're the handsome one?
I mean, I'm just going off what people say. I'm not saying my opinion.
Who can dance better?
Oh, I got it all, man. Sing, dance.
There's nothing.
Break dance.
Who's the better athlete? You're a b-boy?
Yeah, I'm a break dancer, man. I did that at the talent show in school, man. Windmill, you know. Boys to Men, ABC, BBD, the East Coast Family. Oh.
What's up with your name? Rhyan Simmons.
Yeah.
So Ryan is the R, it's Rhyan.
Yes, sir.
And I feel like everyone in the South, if you're Brian, it's Bryan.
Correct.
And then you're the first Ryan I've ever met. It's Rhyn. Is that a Southern thing?
You know, I don't know. You know, I haven't really got a straight answer from my mom on that, you know. All I know is it's a great conversation starter. I love that, too. Actually, matter of fact, I was at the AutoZone before I got here.
Mm-hmm.
Dude was like, that's so cool, man. You know, so it's always, like, brought up, you know. So it always starts a conversation. I think it's great. So I don't know exactly the details of why or where she got that from.
What about your middle name?
Lynn, that's my dad's middle name.
How did he get that name?
I don't know that either. I didn't ask a lot of questions, obviously, growing up.
Is it a girl's name?
It could be a girl's or a guy's.
I'm from the North. In the North, that's a girl's name.
Well, my sister calls me Lenny, so she takes that to a different level.
I like it. Were you firstborn or secondborn with your brother?
I was first, and then he was 27 minutes after me.
Wow. So that's why that's why you got your dad's name. If he was born earlier, maybe he would have got
Yes.
What's his middle name?
Brent.
Who's Brent named after?
I have no idea. It's Randall Brent.
Randall or
Yes.
Rendell?
Randall.
Randall.
But he goes by Randy, obviously. But yeah, Randall Brent.
Yeah.
Randall
and Ryan.
Yeah. It's funny how this is like one of the hardest questions you've asked me. It's about my own family. You know, it's weird. I don't even know the answer.
Yeah, I was just curious. So, I wanted to bring it up and make it kind of awkward because my wife said, you can't, like, the first podcast I ever did, you know, when I was not nearly as good as I am today.
And you're fantastic.
She'd say, you can't say that. You can't say that. So now it's like I have Leif, Stratton, Ryan Lynn, Shaughnessy.
Shaughnessy. Nice.
So I have a lot of friends with interesting names. So I think it's funny just to drop in, what's up with your name?
I mean, there's a lot of Ryans. Let's spell that. I say a lot. But there's quite a few.
With an H?
With an H, yeah.
Oh, I've never seen it.
And it's like, you know, I've not really seen it much either. I just know if you go on, like, Google it, there's a lot of people that's got that, you know? So
I wonder if it's German or something.
I don't know. I don't remember. I don't think I ever went that far with it, you know? So I just know my surname. I just know a little bit about that. That's it.
Wasn't there a Simmons who was like a cute little dancing man who exercised?
Richard?
Are you related to Richard Simmons?
I haven't noticed that. I mean, I've done a lot of research. I haven't seen him yet, but it's a possibility, man.
I feel like you've got some of his flair.
I mean, you're probably right. I may have a little bit of Gene Simmons' flair too, right?
Oh, definitely.
So I may have a little bit of both. Like, I'm in the middle of that. How weird is that?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Sandwiched in there.
Well, Ryan, I think that's a great place to end it. Thank you for coming on my podcast. This has been a lot of fun, and I hope you'll start getting into at least one podcast.
I will try. I'll just get into this one. How about that?
No, that's all I need. Once a month.
Once a month. You let me know what's going to happen. I'll put a reminder on my phone.
The first of every month. The first of every month.
Fist bump. Ready?
All right, Ryan.
I love that. Okay. Hey,
Thanks.
see you guys. Thanks for joining us.